All right, I'm going to work the problems on the test. So here's problem number one. You're given that the measure of arc ADB is 241, so you know that this arc right here is 241 degrees. So if I take 360 degrees and I subtract 241, I'm going to get 119 degrees. So what that means is I know that the measure from here to here is 119 degrees. Okay, and of course this was 241 degrees. All right, I want to go ahead and take a look at my equations that I want to use. So if I look at my equations, I can see the problem matches this particular one right here. So that tells me that I'm going to use this particular equation right here, which is the measure of the angle is equal to 1/2 arc 1 minus arc 2. So I'm going to go over here, and since I'm looking for angle C, that's going to equal to 1/2 the measure of 241 degrees minus 119 degrees. 241 minus 119 degrees is 122. So I have 1/2 times 122, and this is going to be equal to my angle C. And then, of course, 1/2 times 122 is equal to 61. So angle C is equal to 61 degrees. So that's what you should have done for problem number one. All right, problem number two. I have a shape with two chords drawn through it. So I want to go back to my formulas and see which one that one looks like. And I can see it looks like this one. So I'm going to be using this formula right here. The measure of the angle is equal to 1/2 arc 1 plus arc 2. Okay. So looking at my problems, I want to label what I know. I know that MR is 73, so the distance from here to here is 73 degrees. I know that the measure of angle 1, which is here, is 115 degrees. And it wants me to find the measure of HE, which is, I'll just go ahead and label that my X. Well, since I know that the equation that I'm using, which is the measure of angle 1, is equal to 1/2 arc 1 plus arc 2, I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the information that I'm given. I'm given that the measure of angle 1 is 115 degrees, and that's equal to 1/2. Arc 1 is 73 plus this arc, which I don't know. So now I'm given this equation. So what I want to do is plug this into InSolve. Plug it into InSolve, or you can solve it algebraically. Now to solve it algebraically, I'm going to multiply both sides times 2 to get rid of that 1/2. And when I do that, if I multiply this side times 2 and this side times 2, I'm going to end up with 230 is equal to, now of course that cancels out, is equal to 73 plus x. To isolate the x, I'm going to subtract both sides by 73, canceling that out, and 230 minus 73 gives me 157, which is equal to the arc that I am looking for. So that's how you did 1B. All right, now 1C, let's go ahead and mark the given information. I'm given that GH is 63, so I know this is 63. I'm given the measure of angle 2 is 100. It does look like the picture that we just solved in problem 2B, so I know I'm going to be using the measure of angle 2 is equal to 1/2 arc 1 plus arc 2 equation. It wants us to figure out what PK is, which is the distance from here to here, so that is my X. So all I need to do is fill in the information that I'm given. So it tells me that the measure of angle 2 is 100, which is equal to 1/2 arc 1, which is 63, plus the arc that I'm looking for. All right, at this point, you would just plug it into InSolve in your calculators. But to solve it algebraically, you need to get rid of the 1/2. So I'm going to multiply this side times 2, and I'll multiply this side times 2. This will cancel out my 1/2, and the 2 will cancel out there. So here I'm left with 200 is equal to 63 plus x. To isolate the x, I'm going to subtract 63 from both sides. That cancels out. So 200 minus 63 is equal to 137. So this is the measure of pK. All right, 1D gives us that C is the center of the diameter. It tells us that the measure of AT from here to here is 129 degrees. And it wants us to figure out the measure of angle B, which is right here. So I need to figure out which equation that I'm going to use. So I take a look at the picture and I go look at my formulas chart. And I can see that it matches up with this particular one here, so I know I'm going to be using this formula here. Okay, so going back to the problem, since I know I'm going to be using the measure of angle B is equal to 1/2 arc 1 minus arc 2. Okay, so since I'm looking for this, I know one of my arcs, which is 129, so here I'm going to have 1/2 129 minus, and at this point I don't know what the measure of this is. Well, since I know this is a diameter, this is my diameter from here to here, I know that this total distance from here all the way over here has to be 180. Okay, so I'm going to take 180 minus 129, and that's going to be equal to 51. Okay, so what that tells me is that this arc right here is 51, which is the missing piece that I had right here to get the measure of angle B. So 129 minus 51 is equal to 78. I'm going to take half of that, and that's going to give me the measure of my angle B. So the measure of angle B is equal to 39. Okay. And this is problem number 1, D.